Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Shang, and I help companies work through their toughest strategic and operational problems. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you might know that I am a huge fan of using mind maps as a way to learn new things and coming up with actionable plans. If you're brand new to the concept, I will recommend checking out this intro video where I highlight the advantages of this type of note-taking. But to give you a quick summary, mind mapping is a spatial way of breaking down complex topics into actionable and digestible parts. It's spatial because every piece of information you're working with is laid out in a visual map format. I use this very versatile tool for everything from strategizing business deals, designing software products, and even running partner meetings, because it lets me go into the weeds without losing sight of the big picture. In this tutorial video, I'll cover the tools that you need to get started. Go through an example that'll illustrate some basic concepts and techniques, and finish everything off with a few tips that will make your life easier. Alright, let's get into it. So the beauty of mind maps is that it really doesn't take much to get started. Literally, all you need is a pen and a piece of paper. That's it. I personally use a Moleskine XL notebook without lines, and this size actually is perfect because it gives me enough room to really expand my thoughts, but at the same time not so big that it gets so messy and super cluttered. So I go through one of these every 3 months or so, and as you can see, I've already accumulated quite a stack, and I've got 7 more of these at work, which I couldn't really show because the office is closed. The other important thing about mind mapping is that you need to have the right pen. So an erasable pen is probably best because mind mapping basically turns your notebook into a portable whiteboard, right? And you wouldn't use permanent markers on your whiteboard. And I found that the clickers, the friction pens from Pilot to be really good for this purpose. And I personally use the 0.7 fine point in blue as a primary because it just draws so well. And then I also have a 0.5 superfine in red for annotations, which I'll go into a little bit more detail later on, but it makes your mind map just pop and a lot more useful. And for those of you with iPads, all you need is an Apple Pencil, a paper-like screen cover like this, and one of the many note-taking apps on the App Store like Notability, GoodNotes, or OneNote. I recently bought a 2018 iPad Pro 11-inch and found the Notability app to be the best of the bunch. That paper-like screen protector is a must-have if you're using the Apple Pencil because it gives that slippery screen a paper-like writing experience. So that's all I'm going to talk about gear because I can obviously go on about this kind of stuff forever. Let's move on to the example now. I'm a big believer in learning through doing. So let's go through an example. Say I want to start a side hustle like a YouTube channel, a blog, or even a nonprofit. First, I'll put down the main topic in a box and then brainstorm the main components of my plan. For project planning, I always start with the objectives or the why. Then I'll go through the other main subtopics like target audience, the who, deliverables, the what, operations, the how, timeline, the when, and finally, milestones and metrics. These are the main nodes or subtopics of my map, and we can already see some structure forming just from this high-level breakdown. The next step is to expand on each of these nodes. Starting with the purpose, let's say I want to help people think about important issues using mental models. A secondary goal could be to build a network of like-minded folks to help each other out and make a positive dent in the world. Next is the audience, or who would be interested. For this project, I'm targeting anyone who is passionate about learning or want to get ahead in life and career by upgrading their thinking processes. Next is, what exactly am I going to produce? This could be content like videos or written articles. And then we've got how am I going to do it, or the operations and logistics. I think at this point it's reasonable to split this one into creation tools and distribution. If you're making videos, and I probably need some gear like a camera, a mic, lights, and a tripod. These are all part of the hardware requirements. And then in addition, I also need to learn some software tools like Final Cut Pro, find background music, and a way to make thumbnail images. As for how I'm going to share my content and grow my audience, there are a few main platforms. YouTube for videos, Medium for blogs, and Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram for sharing. When am I going to do it? The two things that come to mind here are ongoing time commitment and launch timeline. For the time commitment, I have to take into account my full-time work and personal obligations to craft a schedule that gives me time to research, write, and produce quality content. So if I want to make one video a week, it means I need to make extra time by waking up early in the morning before the work emails and Slack messages hit. For launch timeline, I want to start as soon as possible, but it needs to be broken down into steps. For example, if I want to start a YouTube channel given my schedule, I need to give myself some lead time to set up the channel art and description, learn video editing and thumbnail creation, and get familiarized with filming. And if it takes time for the gear that I ordered to arrive, then I need to take that into account too. Finally, I need some concrete goals and metrics that'll keep me on track. For example, if I know it takes a lot of work and time for a YouTube channel to take off, I might set the goal of producing 50 videos to give the platform a solid chance before considering other options. As for metrics, these could be the number of subscribers, likes, and comments, or it could be more qualitative type of feedback like encouraging messages from people who found my content helpful. The point of metrics is to gauge if I'm meeting my objectives. As you can see, we've already fleshed out a pretty solid plan with plenty of room to go into more detail with any of the subtopics. Now that we've gone through the basics, here are a few more tips to make the map even more useful. Number one, don't worry about the order in which you put down the information. So I went through this example in a clockwise fashion because I've launched products before and I know the sequence of questions to ask. But if I were to go into a completely new topic, I would mostly just focus on putting down the information first, and then I'll organize and annotate the map later. Number two, use annotations to make your mind map more actionable and easier to read. Mind mapping is a form of active learning that requires you to constantly figure out where to place information. But just because you learn something or you put that information down doesn't make it actionable or easily explainable to someone else, or even for you to review later. This is where annotations with a different colored ink come in. First, you'll notice that the main topic is in a box and the main subtopics are in circles. This visual aid immediately tells me the high-level structure of this project. I also use numbers to indicate importance and priority. Here, for example, I'm prioritizing videos over blogs. Stars and exclamation marks call attention to key information and actionable steps. For example, in the early stages of this project, I would prioritize qualitative feedback like private messages over quantitative metrics like subscribers, because skill doesn't matter as much as discovering my audience at this point. So I would put an exclamation mark next to this. Number three, connect the dots. One of the great things about putting information down spatially is that you can link things together from across the map. For example, I could draw an arrow from objectives to metrics to remind myself that the metrics I track need to tie back to my original purpose, or to incorporate an estimated time to learn new skills and for new gear to arrive in the launch schedule. Number four, don't be afraid to move things around. I'm very conscious about space during mind mapping and intentionally give more room to nodes that I think will be more complex. I also erase and move things around rather than cross things out to be efficient with space. Sometimes I'll add a new subnode if I think the information should be recategorized. The point is to keep your map pruned and organized, otherwise things can get really messy. Alright, that's it for now. Let me know if you have any questions or feedback in the comments below. Next time, I'll show you how I accelerate my learning using a modified question and answer mind map, which has been incredibly useful for picking up new skills and knowledge. And as always, give this video a like or a subscribe if you found it useful. And until next time, guys, take care.